my second special episode, and in this episode I'd like to speak about spiritual warfare. What is really spirituality? And it's going to be important for the future development of my videos. There's all the time someone walking nearby. So, to start, I'd like to say what is not spirituality, because there is a lot of misconception in the internet, in the books, and I'd like to clear some things out. And then I will proceed into what is spirituality, and then I'll tell you about frequencies, demonic and angelic frequencies, a little bit about witchcraft. I'll give you examples from my current situation with spiritual warfare, and then I'll demonstrate to you the power of true spirituality. Yet again. To begin this thing, now I know that many people will obviously oppose what I say, because it causes a dissonance in their beliefs. But I have to say it anyway, because things have to change. So to start off, crystals. The crystals have not much to do with spirituality. And the crystal industry, in the way that it is being used today, is causing more harm than good. Let me explain why. A crystal is part of the planet's organs. It stores the planet's memory in the way that it stores a frequency. And that frequency is primordial, it's supposed to be. So that means this frequency is supposed to be harmonic, and from a long time, when things were not so distorted. So in this case, the only use that you would have from crystals, if you have a crystal cave into which you could go and meditate for hours. But if you do not have that cave that is untouched, then the crystals that we're using, the energy in them is very subtle, and they should be treated with gentleness, but they're not. You either have crystals that are being cut open from rocks or from mining, and they are being cut and polished with high vibrational, high rotational tools. But these tools, when you look at quantum wave entanglement rules, these tools are completely ruining and destroying the vibration that crystal inside the rock had. So from a harmonic vibration, it becomes a disharmonic vibration. If you want a crystal for healing, which means you want a crystal with primordial harmonic solfeggio frequency multiplication, that corresponds to solfeggio frequency in your chakras, to put them more, to balance the frequency of the chakra together along with the frequency of the crystal, that will not work for you, because you have a crystal that has a disharmonic frequency and the original frequency is already lost. And then another case is when you have crystals that are grown, which is more than half of the crystals on this planet right now. In all the jewelry and most of the creations where crystals are used. These are crystals that are made to be cheap because they are grown from a crystal growing kit. And these crystals are empty and they can hold a vibration. They're actually more used than the crystal that has been cut and polished from the rock. But its only use is when you're healed. When you already have healed that certain chakra which corresponds on the frequency range with the crystal, then you can charge that crystal with your own energy, with your own polarity, with your own frequency, and that crystal will fortify that. It creates like a barrier that nothing can throw your chakra out of balance again. But people want to use crystals for healing and not when they're healed. So using crystal for healing like that means that you will charge that empty crystal with unhealed energy. It will keep fortifying your chakra with unhealed dissonant frequencies. It makes no sense. Crystals, the crystal industry is a dead cult. It's a dead cult because you're removing something that is off the planet and molding it and shaping into a talisman of sorts. And that means you're putting your faith and your hope into something external of you, something material. And you don't have to do that. Everything you already have inside of you. You don't need to seek for external validation in material things, in possessions. Of course, something can mean to you. Something can have a nostalgic value to you. Something can have a meaning to you, like a piece of jewelry. When looking at technical side of things, it's just that. You have to be aware of the frequencies, and I'll teach about that today. Next thing, tarot. Tarot is a tool for divination, like many other tools, but it has nothing to do with spirituality. It deals with the spirit, yes, but that is occult science. And occult science is not spirituality. Spirituality makes use of certain part of occult science, but it is not one and the same. Just like a rectangle is not a square, but square is a rectangle. Astrology and cosmic sciences, it doesn't have much to do with the spirituality either. And that is because humanity does not really make a difference between spirit and the soul. I'll explain that as well in a moment. Now, witchcraft. Obviously there are 4 types of witchcraft, but the main 2, black magic and white magic, that's an occult science, using occult science to your advantage. And it does not have much to do with spirituality. But many people take it as a spiritual standard. Not even religion in these days have anything to do with spirituality, but more with the church. Church is like an opposite polarity of spirituality. So what is spirituality? In order to understand this, you have to first understand the difference between spirit and the soul. People tend to mix those up, and people tend to call angels spirits or demons spirits. People call everything they do not understand the spirit. And as far as it is true to a certain degree, spirit is local and soul is cosmic. Spirit is when you have the planet and the planet's biosphere is correlated with the air element, with the wind, with the sound, and its main medium of transference is magnetic field. Soul is cosmic, is ever present, and it's everywhere where is light. The light is not the soul. Light is the medium for the soul. Just as water would be a medium for electrical energy to pass through it, so is the light a medium for the soul to pass through it. Now, soul and spirit both are mind constructs. Everything is mind. But in that mind, there was created a dream reality, which we call a physical reality. When we look at this just through a single sense, physical sense, let's look at it through a sense of sight. When we have visible light spectrum, those frequencies range between 100 million hertz up higher to 1 trillion hertz, if I'm not mistaken right now. And if you compare to human sight can see only 30 frames per second. That means that in between 100 millions of cycles per second, you only see 30 of them, and you do not see what's in between. So now it's obvious that we do not perceive all of the frequencies. We only perceive maybe 1% of everything that's around us. So in that 99%, we can make tools to measure the other frequencies which we cannot perceive. But why do we not measure the soul or the spirit? Because the tools that we make to measure other frequencies are made out of the object. And we want to measure something that's beyond the object. That's against the logic. That makes no sense. We live within a dream reality, inception. A dream reality within a mind. So we cannot measure the mind that the dream reality is created from while being in the dream reality and using tools made out of the dream reality. Does that make sense? It does, yes? Now there's only one thing that is receptive to what's beyond the dream reality, and it's a human heart. So now, knowing this, a soul is a higher mind construct that channels through light, and spirit is a lower mind construct that channels through magnetic fields, through the air. This is a teaching from almost every holy scripture that we have as human collective. Yet no religious and no spiritual people make this difference. You have to embody spirit in order to get to your soul and embody the soul. That's the order. Nobody gets through Father only through the Holy Spirit. How does it work? Let's say the spirit is channeling through quicksilver inside the spine, and the soul is channeling through gold inside the spine. Now when these two combine together, the lower mind is transcended and becomes the higher mind. That's when you build up your anointing. But before that happens, we have to look at the thought processes. When we think using our brain, we process whatever instructions we receive from one of these three sources: a human body, spirit, or soul. If we do not develop our consciousness until a certain threshold in which we can differentiate between those three ingredients and can tell where does the thought come from, then we're just operating by default, because we did not start building the anointing. We operate by default from the body, from the instructions of autonomous systems, mainly the brain cortex, which is the reptile brain, and its survival instinct, which is strongly tied to the root chakra and is the reason why people suffer, because we are constantly searching for danger. We constantly searching for something that can harm us, so we can prevent that. And people take it for their thoughts, their own thoughts, and they keep getting lost in it. Now there is another way of thinking which is coming from the spirit, when we have intuitive thought and the spirits of ancestors, spirit guides or maleficent spirits channel themselves through our chakras, through the quicksilver, through the magnetic field, and we breathe it in into our lungs. Remember, breath is the Holy Spirit. So that intuitive thought is not coming from the head, it's coming from the center, because the entire spine is channeling itself. So it's always coming from the center, from the bottom. If you keep observing it, you will notice that certain thoughts come from the back of your head, from the top. Those are mostly instructions of your autonomous systems. Certain thoughts come from the heart, which is the intuition. Now the logic thinking that's coming from the soul, from the light, is processed by brain, and it's sourced through your eyes, mainly into optic thalamus, until you build up your anointing and your entire spine combines with the spirit, with the lower mind. Then you start to channel the soul through your heart. But being receptive to thoughts and processing them and acting upon them is different to embodying spirit and embodying the soul. How do you embody the spirit? You embody the spirit by breathing in and being in the now. The thinking process puts you in a prison of time, because you analyze past and you predict future, which means you're not in the now. When you're thinking and overthinking and you don't catch yourself that you're overthinking, if you try to observe yourself, you will notice that during thinking you're shallow breathing, because it's not you who's breathing, it's your autonomous systems that keep your breathing on shallow level, just to keep you alive. If you want to embody the spirit in the moment and come into now, you have to remind yourself to breathe. You have to practice conscious breathing. When you breathe consciously and deep, you're feeling the other lung that is bigger up to the maximum, and then the oxygen can get to much deeper places where the cells usually need oxygen but don't get it. And those cells usually cause you anxiety, which means they shake because they cannot give away acidifying carbon dioxide. So that means shallow breathing is responsible for most of the anxiety when the cells are shaking. You will notice that when you practice deep breathing, conscious breathing, you will have less and less anxiety and less health problems, because it's the spirit that will heal you before you can be ready to embody your soul. So now when you start building your anointing up and you transcend the lower chakra nature, the carnal nature, you will start notice something very important. The closer you get to embodying your soul, the higher your frequency. Everything is progressing simultaneously. Nothing is separate. So when you rise in your frequency, you will start separating yourself from the lower frequencies and going up, up, up. And you will exist in higher frequencies, but there will be gap between 0 and your lowest possible vibration. Now that gap will not always be there because you will go to sleep, and when you're going to sleep, you can notice how your body is shutting down along the chakras, down to the root, which is red. And red light is the best for maintenance during the sleep, a true red light. So when you're going into the sleep, your brain waves are going from alpha and beta to theta and delta. Delta is at 0.2. This is the human consciousness dreaming frequency. It's almost close to 0. When looking at this from spiritual warfare, you're at danger at this point. And that's because close to 0 and below 0, on minus frequencies, negative frequencies, those are demonic frequencies. This gap of frequencies is very important for spiritual warfare, and now I will explain to you why. So we have 0, and from 0 starting up, there is the element of fire, which is the delta waves, delta brain waves. Then there is element of air, which is the theta waves. That's where spirits and wraiths reside. The spirits of ancestors who are here bound to this planet. Then there is water, which is the beta waves. And then there is alpha waves, which is the absolute waking state of mind, which is the earth. And then the elemental scale reverses back up. This is the lower elemental scale. And then we get to the chakras. Now in chakras, elements repeat in the opposite direction, which is root and sacral is the earth. Solar and heart is the water. Throat and third eye is the air. And crown is the fire. Fire was always considered as light. And I know that you will find different information all over the internet. Now the elements that, if you will search information about chakras, and you will find elements corresponding to chakras, they will be different. That is because those elements are meant to symbolize, to make it easier to remember what the chakra is responsible for. But I do not agree with that knowledge, because I use my own observation, my own gnosis, and according to my gnosis, the heart chakra is not the air element, but water. Water is connecting everything that is alive, that is unified. Water is love. Everything that can love is made out of water, including plants. Throat is not the fire. Throat is the air element, the communication. So is the third eye, is the air element, because it's the perception thinking, just like in tarot. The swords are air element. Heck, I even found sources that said that wands in tarot are element of air and swords are element of water. It further proves that many people are clueless about what they're talking about. Nobody is using their own observation and their own logic. The root and sacral chakra are the earth element because they are the closest to the ground and they are the basic of sustaining the life. Solar plexus and heart are the water element because of what I mentioned before, and because solar plexus is strongly responsible for digestive system, and everything we eat is also, everything we consume is also made out of water. Now the crown is the only chakra that has element of fire because it strongly relates to light of the cosmos, light of the stars. So then after the chakras on frequency wave spectrum, the elements start again from the earth through the water, through the air. The air is about 60,000 hertz, which is where the oxygen oscillates. And then it goes up to about 100 to 120,000 hertz, where the fire starts again, and then the fire continues throughout the light because that's where the first light frequencies begin. Now that scale from the chakras up into the light, this is the higher elementals. This is where the Fae and all the other creatures live, including certain dragons. Lower elemental frequencies up to the first chakra is where the land mass and titans are. Now everything above the visible light spectrum, from ultraviolet light up through the gamma rays, is the angelic frequencies. And anything below zero on minus frequencies is the demonic frequencies. And all this corresponds to how the Buddhists divided the world of samsara, the world of karma, into different sections, which you can see. In this episode, I'd like to focus mainly on demonic and angelic worlds. So that's demonic and angelic frequencies. These frequencies of the both sides of the worlds do not really join together. So the angels and demons cannot wage a war directly between each other in a spiritual realm. They can only wage a war through a medium, to the balance keepers, which is the humans. Human vessel is the battlefield between angels and demons. Demonic frequencies go up all the way to the crown, which you can see on the diagram that I made. And that means you can be in your crown chakra frequency, but you can still fall if all of your chakras are not balanced yet. You can fall, and when you're falling from any chakra, your polarity becomes minus. And when your polarity becomes minus, that opens a portal towards below zero. It's like a quantum leap, like a quantum portal. When you are in that minus polarity, you're channeling demonic entities from that corresponding frequency spectrum. When you reach the level above crown chakra, that means you have to have all of your chakra in balance, aligned. On that level, you are becoming completely pure, like a purified light. And from that moment onwards, your frequency will not drop down, and you will not be in negative polarity ever again. As nice as it sounds, it's not easy to attain, but when it's attained, one becomes immune to any form of dark arts. Dark arts deal only with spirit realm, the wraith realm, and demonic entities. When a human dies, the soul leaves the body and splits from the spirit. So the soul takes everything that was positive, all the positive experiences with itself, back into the light, into the source. And the spirit is left locally on the planet with everything that's left negative. If a human being lived entire life being negative, constantly creating drama, constantly not liking their life, constantly complaining at everything, not being grateful for anything, holding grudges, you get the idea. They become wraith, as the soul has nothing positive to take with it. And that wraith can exhibit certain level of consciousness and self-awareness, but it will work towards seeking portals through which it can live through other people, through other people's addictions, through other people's habits that correspond to their own habits, the wraith's habits, the same habits it had during its own lifetime. Now some people can call this lost souls. Lost souls can attach themselves to your auric field whenever there's a place for them to attach, a mutual addiction that the lost soul uses as a portal. For as long as that portal is open, the lost soul or the wraith keeps fueling the addiction in the vessel of a human being that it's using to live through it, and keeps also sapping the energy, the life force energy from that human being. Now why it is important? It's important because what I learned about dark arts, about black magic, people who practice black magic, who use dark arts in the rituals to shift realities, to control realities, to control other people, they use these spirits or wraiths from theta waves, from lower elementals, and then in more advanced forms of the dark arts, they use demonic entities to attach themselves to a target human being through open chakra portals, through negative emotional states, through negative polarity of the energy, and keep them bound. And that way they can fuel the destruction in someone's life. In order to work with these kind of spirits and with these types of demonic entities, they have to bind themselves to these entities, to these demons, and force them to serve them. They have to give them all sorts of fuel in forms of biological life, blood, tissue, whatever can be used for the entity to feed itself upon. That way, in exchange, the entity can give a desired effect through working through someone else's magnetic field, through someone else's quicksilver. Now this is the black magic. It's a part of the witchcraft. The other part of the witchcraft is white magic. In white magic, it uses elemental scales for protection, for prevention, for clearing, purging, purifying of those entities that's being used, the mind constructs being used in the black magic rituals. And you have to remember that even when someone thinks negatively about the other person, through lust, through hate, through envy, that's creating a mind construct which lives on its own, and that mind construct is also causing damage to that person because it's all energy. That energy is being accumulated by the practitioner who's focusing that energy on someone as a target. It's being given a container, and that container holds an energy charge of the accumulation of the energy that was put into that container before. And depending on what was used as a payment, what was used as a catalyst, the energy can be small or big and can overwhelm unaware people. This part of the witchcraft deals with deception. The only way deception works is because it's stealth, it's invisible, it's the target of it is unaware. And once the light of consciousness is shined upon the deception is no more and it loses its power. So when someone is aware they are under attack, they can protect themselves. And if someone is not aware that they are under attack, they will certainly see the effects of that energy playing out in their own reality. And they will blame others, they will blame life, they will blame fate, they will not understand why is this happening, and they will further fuel their own destruction. Dark arts deals with the spectrum of negative below zero up to the last chakra, the crown chakra, and nothing above it. The higher elemental scale above the crown chakra is pure. Those are creatures and entities that are close to light, and they are pure in their intention, and they are of good nature. Now these entities can be used as well as the spirits of ancestors from the lower elemental scale for protection in white magic rituals. The difference between white magic and black magic is that black magic breaks the laws of the universe because it attempts to tamper with someone's free will. The white magic does not tamper with someone's free will. The white magic is protecting against tampering with its own free will. Now when someone reaches the level, as I mentioned before, where the anointing is complete, the chakras are aligned, and instead of chakras there is a pillar of white light. The only time when you come back to those lower frequencies is when you go to sleep. When you look at the chakras and when you're going to sleep, you're shutting down each of the chakras down to the bottom. And once you're asleep in that route where the maintenance happens, by the way, use the red true light when you're sleeping for the better maintenance. You will sleep better and faster. Once you're in that root chakra and you're sleeping, you're in dreaming state in 0.2 Hz delta waves. You're close to zero, you're close to negative frequencies. That's where you're opened. In your dream state, you're open for all sorts of spiritual attacks. Now this situation is the only situation which is dangerous for someone who doesn't know how to protect themselves. But there are ways, there are techniques to program yourself, to program your vessel, because we are all coders. We're coding ourselves. The difference is that most people code by default, which means they do not know that they code. And those who are of consciousness, they code consciously. They can do whatever they want with their vessel, and their vessel will listen. So, someone who's dealing with a lot of spiritual warfare can code its body and use the grace and favor of the angelic beings to be fully protected during the sleep and to teach its own vessel how to react in certain situations, so there's nothing that can happen. And I'll mention this soon, because there's something I have to say. But now let's look at the waking cycle. When we're waking and we are already in alignment with our chakras, which means we transcended the darkness and we are everything, from the minus to the plus, all the way up. We are infinite in all directions. When we're waking up, we can shift towards the high frequencies instantly. And how do I know that? How do you recognize that you're shifting? Well, basically, if you wake up, you don't feel horny, you don't feel hungry. That means you're jumping from root straight to the higher chakras. That means there is that gap of frequency which you do not go through anymore. That gap can expand based off your abilities and based off your consciousness, based off your needs. You can disconnect yourself from lower frequencies completely during the day, during the waking cycle. What does that mean? That means that any spell work, any witchcraft sent to you with the use of spirit which is in theta waves, wraiths which is in theta waves, and demonic entities which are in the negative frequencies, they cannot cross to your level because you're basically becoming angelic within the flesh. That means any spellwork sent is being bounced back like in a mirror. And when you're closer to angelic frequencies, the closer you are, the higher your frequency, the more protection of angelic beings you have. It's working on automatic. If you serve the light, if you grow in frequency, if your consciousness is expanding, naturally you will have more and more protection until at some point you will become unbreakable, untouchable, invincible to spiritual warfare. Everything sent towards those frequencies, angelic frequencies, cannot reach them. And if it cannot reach them, those spirits which were directed at the target, they have to complete their job. So they will bounce back like through a mirror and go back to the one who sent them or to their loved ones, because those spirits are very maleficent and they like to trick people. They like to do all sorts of stuff to cause pain and destruction. This is what fuels them, which means that those backfires will often ricochet into family members, into friends, into even children. All sorts of things can happen and nobody can define what exactly will occur.
Yes, I do believe that these answers are fulfilled around our loved ones in this life. Which currently I do have a loved one in the process of passing at the moment. So that's on my heart as well.
I will use the example which those who watch me know very well. I have to use it because it's a good research material. And the cacao demon, which I named like that, the vessel named Amanda, she did a lot. The demonic entities did a lot, but a lot of evil through her vessel. Also, they committed a lot of evil towards me through her vessel. My personal data and identity was sold on dark web to hackers. It was passed down to human traffickers. I will need a new identity because she was hoping that I will end up without organs or something of this sort. So the least I can do is use her identity and her vessel as an example to teach about what occurred, to teach others how to defend themselves from this. Throughout last year or more, there was a shit ton of spellwork sent my way. Now I ascended at the beginning of last year, and she did not know that things function like that. She did not know that being ascended into higher frequencies will not make any black magic work. The only black magic that I ever experienced on myself was the black magic that angels on purpose let through, so that I can learn about it, so that I can study it. Now, knowing that, she did not know that, and I knew that. So, in the video Demon Slayer, I said that because she gathered many people to do this, some things got through, and I was transmuting them. Which is not completely true, nothing got through. I told her that because I knew that if I say that, she will gather more and more people trying to overwhelm me, and that will attract more and more evil people who practice this shit to me and expose them to me. So now I know, and I have a tiny list of names of people I need to take care of. But that's gonna come later. Another thing I said about the backfires, that I'm sending everything back. So she automatically started recruiting other people and paying them money. So I knew that she will have to pay lots of money to practitioners to try to harm me when I was untouchable. But at least she will use all of her money, and she will go bankrupt. And that way I cut her off from her money, and I cut her off from her energy. She's tired, she's sick, and everything comes slowly back. Some things were sent back right away, but majority of the things that she has been doing, my ancestral team, my family, those who I work the closest with, Sekhmet, Bastet, Anubis, Thoth, they created a bubble, a massive bubble in the spirit realm, and that bubble was storing most of the black magic that's been sent through her and through other people. Now I will tell you a little bit about that. Aside of the things I said in Demon Slayer, I have some more evil practices that she's been doing. The voodoo dolls she's been playing with. Oh, this one was fun. She she became so evil that she tried to project a thought of me as Christ onto the bread, and she projected the thought of eating that bread as eating my body to embody my energy. She also pissed off some Aztec god. Now I don't know the exact details of that, but that god is wreaking havoc in her life. She faked contracts not only in physical reality, where she has my false marriage certificate, false medical records, false forged signature, but she also tried to forge for contracts in the spirit realm, and all those contracts were deemed void by Archangel Metatron. Now, using this opportunity, I want to mention from previous video, I want to mention Arcana Divine, who demonized archangels, who demonized ascended masters. Arcana Divine said that archangels are fallen, that ascended masters are fallen. This is absolute bullshit. This is absurd. This is blasphemy. Please don't do that. Archangels are pure. Their purity cannot be destroyed in any way. It cannot be tainted. Archangels will never fall. They are fixed on the light side. Just as the demons, there are fixed demons on the dark side. You can divide demonic entities into two. Those which are fixed, they are coming based from Saturn. And those who are created during the lifetime of human life as mind constructs. And Amanda is becoming one. She already did become a demon that will ravage the lands once she crosses over. The angelic beings, they can fall, but they can fall only if they get reincarnated in the flesh. And during their lifetime, they will completely go off the life path predestined for them by God. They will commit sins and evil wrongdoings. They can fall and they can lose their divinity. Just like someone close to me recently. Archangels will never fall, and ascended masters are outside of karmic cycle. Ascended masters are outside of samsara wheel, the wheel of reincarnation. Now, I am Archangel in human flesh, and I descended into the human flesh, and even though I experienced darkness, I still retain my purity, and I will keep my purity, and I'm on a training to become Ascended Master, and I will get outside of karmic cycle completely. But to say that an Archangel that do not embody human flesh, and it's in the light, and it's falling down, that's a blasphemy, that's an insult. Please do not repeat that. Now back to Amanda. Her vessel was tricked by a demon that was a construct, human construct. She thought that she's in contact with Haitian voodoo, Aloha, because that demon tricked her to believe that. But in actuality, that demon was a powerful entity which she come in contact with, and that entity had the ability to jump between two timelines or exist in two timelines in the same time. So if something happened in one timeline, it switched to the other timeline. And Amanda was working with that demon to gain certain things, to ruin lives of certain people, to achieve certain positions. And in exchange, she was giving something which she did not completely know what she's giving. but it was a piece of her soul. And each time a piece of her soul was given away to that demon, she was losing and losing and losing until she lost the entire soul in a bed. And now the elders in her coven know about that. And there will come a time soon where they will pretend that they want to help her, but they will know that they cannot help her, so they will try to use her for her money. They will try to take her outside of the country and leave her there to die, because there's nothing that can be done. In total, I identified 3 demonic entities within her vessel. One was Paimon. And Paimon was working with the voodoo dolls. And one was Asmodeus, the demon of lust, which I already sealed within her vessel. Now, the third demon, which I just mentioned, I do not identify its name because it's not a fixed demon like Paimon and Asmodeus. But that demon has been hunted down by me and my ancestral team, and we destroyed it completely in both of the timelines, so it was cast away back to hell, to the negative frequencies. Which means she cannot use that demon for anything anymore. She lost the connection with that demonic entity. Asmodeus has been sealed off, and Paimon was not so prominent, but Paimon did a little bit damage as well. To further help you understand high-ranking demons and their presence and abilities, I will point out few important aspects of my research and observation. First 3 signs of advanced demonic possession are as follows. The likeness of dark environments, they always want to cover the windows. Deep shadow around eyes caused by eye dryness and eye moving deeper into socket cannot be fully covered with makeup as it's visible under certain light angle. When low on energy and triggered, you look them in the eyes fearlessly and you will see entire eyeball going black. The eyes are lifeless, for there is only darkness inside the spine. Another thing worth noticing is that dark occultists who bind demonic entities to serve them will eventually lose to them, for they have no willpower to withstand demonic presence in an extended period of time. Willpower comes from the light and monoatomic gold in the spine, which automatically negates one's will to commit to this type of dark arts. It's an opposition. Following this same principle, a dark occultist will almost always be stupid, for it will lose against demonic presence, which will eat its central nervous system and eventually brain, to feed its presence in the vessel. Demons are each to their own. They do not work together, will always work towards selfish gain, for they have a powerful ego. Knowing this, 2 or more possessed people will eventually backstab each other. Something worth knowing. Demons believe in God, they fear God, and respect God's power. It is only an educated vessel that can call itself non-believer. In the video 1111 Inheritance, I attempted an experiment by putting myself on the line, so I gave away information about my work and transport to see how accurate the occultist can be in working with a demon. Next day, train failed, and few days later, I was laid off from work. So both things I pointed out were ruined because I wasn't the target. This means the only way you can prevent it is do not give away any info about yourself. Last thing about targeting. I only mentioned train in my video, but a tramway was also failing for few consecutive days. So conclusion is, she doesn't have to be specific in what she wants to affect when performing ritual. I find this piece of information crucial to future battles. Now she not only did the voodoo doll magic by herself, but she also got other people to work with her. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what was done, just so you have an idea how far things went and how truly evil that being is. And how truly evil she she became. There were 3 voodoo dolls. She had one with herself at all times to keep projecting stuff at this voodoo doll and to keep doing stuff to this voodoo doll. One voodoo doll was hanged. It was wrapped in a strip. One was smushed, and the 3rd voodoo doll was abused. It had a crown of thorns. She was putting blood in it. She was sticking middle finger in it. She was strangling the doll. She put rubber bands around the wrists to cut off the circulation. She hung it upside down for a time to cause rush of blood and pressure into the head. She put it underwater to drown it and put pressure on my chest. She was slamming it against the wall. She was trying to stop my heart. She cut it open and put thorns inside, put blood and strand of their hair inside where the soul would be, to bind me to a future with her, to a false contract, which was cancelled, like any other contract, by Archangel Metatron. She sprayed chemicals on the doll to cause rashes and blemishes. She put pins and needles in its eyes, thorns in its throat. She tried to yank its limbs hanging by a thread. It's been a community effort working on this doll. One doll always sits at an altar near scrying mirror with a ball and chain at its foot. They've been trying to curse this doll, sit and focus on it, while throwing wordplay, curses and insults, chanting the name. They wanted to redirect all the black magic reversals at the doll so that it comes back to me. People involved in this were of the signs of Sagittarius, Capricorn, Leo and Virgo. Now, Amanda is a shapeshifter. She takes the identity of other people. She murders other people, and after the marriage takes the identity so she can avoid criminal record. But I will explain that in the next video, which will be the final nail in the coffin. Anyway, she's using a certain ritual for swapping the destiny or swapping the energy with the person that she's destroying, like a shapeshifter. That's why she's not herself. She doesn't know who she is. She has to find someone who she can copy, always. And I was the best target she could copy ever. And she tried, and she failed. And because of that practice, because of that black magic with copying and swapping the destinies, her energy is also swapping. Few of her ex-boyfriends were Leo, which is why her energy shows as a Leo even though she's a Scorpio. The last ex-boyfriend, Erki, was a Taurus, which is why her energy also shows as a Taurus. She also swapped with a Gemini, which I know from recent happenings, but I'm not going to speak about this right now. They violated this doll and put bodily fluids on it. Snot, spit, anything to degrade it. They were energetically raping the doll. So the doll she had with her at all the times, she was abusing it at all the times to project as much energy as she could. She buried it in the graveyard for 3 days, multiple times. They put them in the freezers. They wanted to break my spirit. They put red and green needles in the root and heart chakra. There was a red string tied around the doll and pulled to cause muscles to contort and cause spasm. They tried to give me a gut rot by strangulating the gut area. She put a lot of time, energy and resources into planning and executing this, into trying to affect me in any way, and it's all because I said that some things went through because it was a lot. But I said that on purpose, just to deceive her, to create a decoy. Nothing went through, it all hangs up in the bubble that my ancestors created. Last week I decided to release everything that was done to the voodoo dolls, and it's coming back. And all the people who did this, and all the people who are connected into all this bullying, spiritual bullying and raping and everything, they all have an energetic link, energetic cord to her, and they all will share her karma. It's all gonna come back, and at some point that bubble will pop as well. She's been doing sometimes even 6 to 7 rituals daily. So at some point that bubble will pop, and when that bubble pops, everything will hit instantly. When that hits, there is no mental asylum in this whole planet that will help her, if she survives until that, because she's not really looking the best. In the last few videos you can clearly see she's sick and she's dying, and she knows that. The left masculine side of the face is warping, the eye went down, the nose shifted left. It's because of the demonic possession. In an extended period of time, she's changing. That coven, the elders will try to get rid of her, and then they will beg my ancestors to let them be. But it's not up to my ancestors. I make the rules here. It's my timeline now. I hijacked this timeline. And I will take the trash out. It's my home now. And that home is full of trash. And I will take the trash out before I can establish my own empire. Nobody will escape the karma. Nobody will escape the backfires. Everybody. And that includes you, Shane. Yes, you. The shameless Shane. I know you're watching. You're going to the chopping block, mate. I can see everything that you do and everything that you did, because you keep stalking me, just like her, which means you keep giving me access to your full energy, and I can lead you. There are no secrets on this planet anymore, because I'm here. Don't even think that because I highly respect your wife, Z, that I will go easy on you. No, that will not happen. You stole hard-earned money of your wife and gave it to Amanda. You made a deal with her. You have met with her. You gave it to her to support the cause of murdering me. You basically gave her money of your wife because you don't have your own money, against your wife's permission and knowledge, to kill me. When you have met with her, before you met, she made some few pathetic spells on you, low vibrational witchcraft, because it is mostly low vibrational. But because you're also low vibrational, it worked on you. You had sex with her. You made her pregnant. It was you who made her pregnant. Yes. But don't worry, she killed the child. As soon as she found out that she's pregnant, she saw this as a perfect opportunity to give a biological life to the devil, to the Satan. So she sacrificed a little baby, unborn baby. She sacrificed the soul before it could even come out to live, just so she can gain power and money for a moment. Now you are connected to her because you having sex with her created a cord between her and your sacral chakra, which means she's sucking the abundance out of you, but you don't have your own abundance because you're a loser, which means she's sucking the abundance of your wife. Tigress, you might have noticed the fluctuations in your financial situation. Now you know where your abundance is going. You have to cut him off from everything, and then I can assist you in cutting this cord once and for all. Back to the shameless Shane. You either have HIV or herpes, or both, because she passed it down to you, and she got it from Princess Felix, who she married as a form of revenge on me for leaving her. And Prince Felix, he knew that he has this, but he really hated me, so he wanted her to pass this down to me, hoping that I will sleep with her at some point. And Princess Felix, he learned a little bit of dark arts from Amanda, and he thought that he's so smart and he will be so cool and he will do black magic together with her on me. So now he's suffering. Now he's overeating. He's stuck in gluttony. He cannot do anything about this. He cannot free himself from it. And he keeps terrorizing Amanda. This is her karma. She gets what she wanted. Now, shameless Shane, because you are energetically connected to Amanda and because you paid for the death ritual, stealing your wife's money, you will also get a ricochet, the backfires of this karma. And because of how these spirits work, how I explained before, sometimes it can hit your family on purpose. Sometimes it can hit your children. So you were first to pay for murdering me, for getting me out of the way, but you did not even think for a moment about protecting your own family. But don't worry, I sorted it out. I am daily protecting her and her children. I wrapped around my wings, and every day when I wake up and when I go to sleep, and during the day, I pray and I direct a part of my allegiance towards her to protect her from any backfires and from any black magic, which also your lover Amanda is bombarding her with.
What is perceived as hell or hellfire is actually a deep cleansing realm. For those that have chosen the fall path due to fall programming, deception tactics, and Arcana deception strategy, those that have been created accountable to evil, those that have been created to be used as a pawn through and for the forces of evil, and for those that also require deeper levels of purification. It's just that simple as well, too. And then will ultimately be accessing the stairway to heaven after punishment, okay? Ultimately, reparation on the soul has been mended. Okay, it's about reparation. It's about restoration. It's about receiving the wisdom. It's about clearing. One of the deception tactics of the fall programming is to fool you into believing that Satan, satanic ritual abuse, Luciferian, Tothian, Leviathan, Cthulhu spirits are fallen.
Did you hear that, Shane? Her delusional state is so deep that she is convincing herself in public that satanic ritual abuse is not fallen, so she will go to heaven after punishment. No Naraka leaves hellish realm unless one of her bloodline attains an ascended master level and free entire ancestral line, which will not happen. Look at her. How long do you think she will survive? A month? 2? This monster advised you to force your wife to bear another child for you, so you can keep your mouth close to the river of gold, and so she can keep manipulating you for money. You listened and called it a miracle to trap Z, but the truth is your soon-to-be ex-wife became pregnant a couple months ago when I was exposing HIV 8 months ago, so you chose to ignore the red flag and proceeded to have sex with her. You do not care about her or her health, not even life. You are a monster, just like this one. The only difference is, Amanda sold her soul more than once in this lifetime. For corpses like her, there is no entrance to heaven. Are you feeling stupid now? I am not protecting you, and I will not protect you. You already have the first signs. You're already sick. You have gastrointestinal problems. It's going only to get worse. So your option now is to start praying to God for forgiveness and change your diet, and maybe somehow you will survive. Your other option is to be consumed by darkness. If you survive, you will have to talk to the police, and you're looking at prison time. So either way, you're fucked. You see, you're just a little boy who wants to play video games all day, who think he found an infinite piggy bank, when in actuality you don't love her because you don't even love yourself. You just use her. You brought the worst out of her, and I've been watching. Now she will heal, and look how these backfires quickly turn the tables. Now you will be homeless, you will be unemployed, with no money, sick, dying, and going to prison. Isn't it funny? I'm working my ass off. I work physically, very hard. And aside of that, my videos take about 300 to 400 hours to make. And aside of that, I have to stay conscious at all times. I cannot allow myself for a break. I cannot allow myself for any pleasure, because I have to keep protecting myself and others. I even protect those who turned against me, because I know that they lost their way due to manipulation and black magic, due to witchcraft. And I'm fighting here alone with my spiritual army. And you're just a boy, like I said, immature, entitled. You're a boy and I'm a warrior. I speak the truth, and the truth I speak cuts like a sword. So if you don't like it, then do not watch. And remember, I see all the timelines of your future, and some of them, you have a stupid thought to take revenge and set that house on fire. If you choose to set that house on fire, you will feel the wrath of the golden dragon. I will make sure that next 100 of your incarnations, each of them will bring you more suffering than the starving children of Yemen. Do not dare to touch her. Keep your dirty hands to yourself and respect her boundaries. Now, Tigress, do not worry about any STDs. You are protected. You are an earth angel, and your mission is of the most priority in here, and you will be protected. See, Shane, me and your wife, we ruled an empire in ancient China together. You, wimp like you, is no match for this woman. An earth angel like her needs to be protected, and she will be protected, always. Because she will do a lot of good in this life. She will heal a lot of people. Now you thought that this will not come out, did you? You thought that I do not see this. I see everything. And this is the power of true spirituality. I'm done with you. The ground is set for the final move.
Let's go.
And it's going to come soon.
Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and up in lights, he just wants to be heard. Whether it's the beat of the mic, he feels so unlike everybody else, alone. In spite of the fact that some people still think that they know him, but fuck him, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about reality and making some noise.
What is spirituality? Spirituality is an art of embodying the spirit, preserving the spirit, and preparing the temple for the spirit to reside within. In other words, it's an art of being present in the now at all times.
This is 20% skill, 80%